As part of the Presidential Summit, you all represent a lot of people from many nations, many religions. The Arab Empowerment Initiative is about the Arabs from the Arab world. When we started talking, we realized we represent the biggest cross-section of the Arab people. Hazami is a Muslim, I'm a Christian. Hazami represents the women, I represent the men. Hazami represents the young generation, I represent the older generation. Hazami represents the short and average-looking people, I represent the tall and gorgeous people. Hazami Barmada.
It is with great honor that I welcome you all. We are extremely happy to have all of you with us here today, as this luncheon is the official launch of Al-Mubadarah, as my colleague Victor mentioned, the Arab Empowerment Initiative. In collaboration with the Aspen Institute on this event, reflects both organizations' broader interests in international development issues as they relate to the Middle East, and also the influential cultural diplomacy work of the Aspen Institute's Global Initiative on Culture and Society. We are meeting here today on the heels of the Presidential Summit on Entrepreneurship, a commitment that Obama made at his Cairo address last June. The summit brings together about 200 Muslim delegates who have been invited to Washington to help explore ways in which businesses and entrepreneurs can deepen ties and build partnerships between the United States and Muslim global communities. We'd like to congratulate all the delegates that are here with us today, and if you would please rise so people know who you are. It'd be wonderful.
When the State Department actually contacted us, as Victor mentioned, they were interested in doing a cultural community event. And what we were able to do was to provide a larger angle for what the administration was trying to accomplish through the summit, which was to pretty much highlight international connectivity through business and through non-traditional diplomacy. So we structured and built our event around that. It really tapped into the mission that we were trying to do, which was to highlight the diversity and talents that exist within the Arab community, but then also to showcase to the world the support that the Arab community has, not only of the programs and projects that are taking place, but then also of other community groups who are working and striving to accomplish very similar things on different capacities. So we actually created, the event was the Public Diplomacy Luncheon and a networking reception, and the name of the event was the Faces of Muslim and Arab Americans Answering Obama's Call.
And some of those people, a very impressive panel of speakers that you had and participants. Can you give us some of the highlights?
Well, what we wanted to do was to really showcase the changing face of diplomacy. Now, post-Obama's speech in Cairo, one of the promises that he made was a new beginning, with rules for new engagement. And one of the things that he specifically blatantly said was that the U.S. or any government cannot do this alone. In order to have sustainable international development and better, healthier relations across national and geographic boundaries, you really had to strengthen people-to-people communication and contacts. And through that, the promise for the summit was actually made in Cairo in 2009, in a speech in 2009. And we literally took this theme and then tapped into our speakers. We sat down and tried to figure out what would a good and healthy panel that's well-rounded and holistic, that could provide insight onto diplomacy, but then also to the importance of international affairs and cultural development, but then also to talking about the importance and important role that the Arab American community plays in global relations and global affairs. One thing I do want to mention is that the summit was actually focused on Muslim communities. Al-Mubadarah, we are a multi-religious and multicultural entity. We would not call ourselves secular, because secular is stripping religion from it altogether. And we realize and acknowledge that religion to a lot of people is a cultural reality as much as it is a religious reality. So we have called ourselves multicultural, multi-religious. So we did focus on the Muslim American community, but also brought in Christian American speakers. And Victor actually has a story of how we have met and interacted. I mean, we do represent cross-sections of the community. I mean, he is Christian, I am Muslim. He represents older generations, and I represent younger ones. And so it's the dynamics of our interaction really showed through the event, and we really picked speakers that were able to provide more depth to both the diversity, but then also to show the complexity of international affairs. It's not as black and white as our politics once used to be. We need to get to a point where we can engage non-traditional stakeholders. We can engage the community. We can look at businesses and business leaders and entrepreneurs and social leaders as part of the international process. They're not side to it, but they're integral to it, and we need to figure out ways to constructively engage them.
Tell us some of those wonderful speakers that you had at the lunch, some of the famous ones that we'd all know.
Well, we partnered with the Aspen Institute. They collaborated with us on the event, and Walter Isaacson and a lot of the Board of Trustees from the Aspen Institute joined us. We also had senior people from the State Department, and Farah Pandith, who is the representative of Muslim communities to the Obama administration, was one of our speakers, and she specifically focused on the role of the administration in its international outreach. We also had with us Pradeep Ramarthi, who is the Senior Director for Global Engagement from the National Security Council at the White House, who spoke to the importance of international engagement for national security purposes and the role of the administration in engaging international communities to actually strengthen America's security and international role and in the community. But then more specifically, we wanted to also focus on the Arab angles. So we had with us Ambassador, His Excellency Hussein Hassouna, the Ambassador of the Arab League, who spoke to the international Arab and Muslim overall feelings about the Obama administration and their outreach.
This event is an outcome of a new vision, the vision of President Obama. This vision which he declared as a goal on the first day of his inauguration, saying to the whole world that the United States wants to engage the Arab and the Muslim world. The United States wants to build new relations with the Arab and the Muslim world based on common interests and mutual respect. And we in the Arab world and the Muslim world responded to this message. And when he went to Cairo University, I'm proud to say that I am from Cairo University, where he was received with honor and applause. He elaborated on this vision, and he talked about our common aspirations, regardless of race, religion, creed, or background. And he talked about partnership, forging partnership between the United States, the Arab, and the Muslim world. And the successful summit we had this week in town was the first practical step to put this vision into practice. And I think that we all welcome this. And I believe that we can work together with the United States on different levels, an official level, governments, international organizations, regional organizations like the Arab League and the Organization for the Islamic Conference, and then non-governmental also level, like civil society, like the academic world, like the think tanks, like the business community. So it's a collective effort, and we can only succeed if we work together.
It was in Cairo in June of last year that he laid out a foundation of engagement, a vision from which he wanted to build, based on very fundamental and important things: mutual interest and mutual respect. The dignity and the tone with which this president has executed this vision, that is an all-encompassing, across-government vision, which means that not only the Department of State is engaging, but every part of our government is engaging to extend partnership, to open up dialogue, to build relationships, and to use new tools to affect good on a community, local level, and international level. 2 weeks after the Cairo speech, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton asked me to serve as the first special representative to Muslim communities in our nation's history, and I'm honored to do so. What she's asked me to do is to work with our embassies around the world to engage on a people-to-people level, to engage with the grassroots, civil society, to hear what is taking place at that level and move ideas up, to see where the American government can use its strength to be the convener, the facilitator, and the intellectual partner with ideas that we hear on the ground, to bring partners to the table that we don't usually see, and find ways to execute networks that have never been built before, energy and movement forward up, so that it can affect the way in which we do things, it can connect people to leverage more possibilities, and can make a difference to a long-term commitment of partnership.